This session is our first debate, titled Esports, Passion or Addiction. So we're asking the question, why esports? Esports experts will present the reasons for embracing esports. And then on the other hand, the cynics will express their concerns, and hopefully we can find some common ground and not too much fighting. It's only 10 o'clock, 10:40. Don't fight yet. Leave that for later. So let me first introduce the moderator for this panel, Laura Byrne, Esports Insider Event Manager. Laura will be joined by the panelists, France-based Fnatic performance coach, UN Rockaboy, I Spy Health Inc. author, speaker, and family coach, Elaine Yuskowski, sports professor from Del Rosario University in Colombia, Mario Agudelo, and from Korea Hanshin University, Professor Eun-kyung Che. Give them a round of applause.
Hello. Hello, everybody, and good morning. I'm very excited to be moderating the first panel today. It's wonderful to be here. So my name is Laura Byrne. I'm the event manager at ESI. So we are a B2B media and events business. So you might have attended our events in the past, but we've had them in London, Singapore, and we've got some very exciting events happening in 2024 as well. So in true panel style, let's go down and do introductions. So do you want to kick off?
Sure. So I'm Ewan Rockaboy. I'm the performance coach for Fnatic since the beginning of the year. So I'm most likely focusing on psychological aspects with the players. And on the other side, I'm doing all my research studies on the laboratory in Brest in France. So we are trying to walk around the work-life balance within esports players, and how we can better support the players into their career to make them longer. So yeah, happy to be here.
Hello, I'm Elaine Yuskowski. I'm here from Canada. I am the mother of a child who, at age 19, became severely addicted to gaming. As a result, I now have written 2 books, and I am a speaker and coach for families who are struggling with video gaming addiction as well. And I mean, I'm not anti-gaming and I'm not anti-esports. I want to establish that right out of the gates. But I think that there's a lot of education that needs to happen from the grassroots. We need to help parents and have some parameters in which they know how to raise their children in a healthy and balanced way around gaming. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here too. I'm from Bogota, Colombia. I'm an esports professor at 2 universities. In one of them, I teach all the sports practice in esports, and in the other university, I teach. I am the leader of the research group about how training and education can improve all this esports area. So I will be delighted to explain to you how we do it in my country, and thanks for having me here.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm a professor, Choi, and also Hanshin University is the first university to have the graduate School of Esports Convergence. Means we do teach, and I do teach about the game and sport, IT, and media, and something like that. So I am very happy to see you all, and also, yeah, of course, I'm Korean, so welcome to Busan and Korea.
Lovely. Wonderful to be on the panel with you all. So just a little bit overview on the format. So what we're going to do is go through some of the positives and then negatives and then see what kind of common ground we can find. So let's kick off with the positives. So esports is obviously such a global industry and it provides such a wealth of diverse opportunities for people. So who wants to kick us off and talk about the opportunities? Yeah, down at the end.
Well, when I got this title to debate, actually, I wanted to introduce about my student's case because as I introduced, we are the first university to have the graduate school. Means when we need to find some student, actually, it started from the students' request, actually. They want to study more after they do retired. For example, my student do have a former esports player, you know, about a kind of a repetition for the Korean players. Not all the time like a faker, but to have very good experience. They are not rich like them, but, and also to have some other students to have background, especially he was a former esports player, but he was also working for the esports, special esports for the disabilities. And also some other students also do have the gaming design and also wants to do research, something like that. Means like there is maybe the common question, after they do retired, what they get new. They want to be really experts. They want to contribute to the esports industry, esports environment. Then I found something different from the student, actually. Because when they were young, they were just focusing about to be a good players, just playing and playing. Sometimes even they've been confused whether they are addicted or they are just being achieved to be a good player. But once they've been realized about their, maybe the level, about their reality, then they want to be just as a normal, be expert to contribute in this world. So I found maybe it's not really good answer and exactly the point to say about the positive, but I think maybe they do. I do sometimes call esports generation. They do know about the future itself, even before we do teach, before we do giving the direction. So I found that is maybe one of the positive side actually we can say about.
Can I bounce on that? I think to bounce on these aspects, and that's something we talked about before together, there is like when players are getting players, no matter if they are professional players or amateur players, by playing a game they are developing skills and learning skills. So they are learning stuff that will be they will be eventually able to use in the future, and that's one of the point also is trying to understand how what they are doing is valuable for them, and so how playing video games in some ways of playing them is an opportunity for the future because they are developing skills and skills like soft or hard skills that will be useful and that will be like something interesting for their professional career or whatever they want to achieve in their life after that. So I think it's, for me, like it resonated pretty well with that.
Nice. Mario, you work with a lot of students. What kind of positive
I want to clarify that this esports growing stuff is helping us to understand the new generations, because everybody only says that, hey, it's a kid only playing, but they don't understand that esports make us, is in an educational way, how to understand these new sports players, this new generation, why they do what they do all the time. So why they play this game, why they communicate in different ways. So the positive way is we have now a powerful tool to understand these new ways of thinking, these new ways of making things differently. And it's a powerful tool because we can connect the world with a game. So you can understand that one guy from Korea, from Colombia, from Saudi Arabia, you can understand them because they love one game. And you say, this is very positive because we are getting closer to all the world and we are helping these people or these guys to understand the world differently. Because through the game, they can learn a lot of things about another cultures. So I think this growing industry is helping us to getting closer, to live about the game, and that's what we need. We need play, love, and respect each other to this. So I think it's the better thing about this growing industry.
And just to kind of expand on it, obviously esports players are, you know, the core of our industry, but there's so many more jobs that have come because of esports. Obviously, got performance coach, teachers. So what in your experience have been the positives of being part of the industry, and kind of what do you enjoy most about it?
Okay, I am a living example of, I lived 10 years teaching football. But all my life I have been gamer. So when this growing esports industry permits or let that a teacher can teach esports. So that's a new job side of field to work with. For example, we are building the first bachelor degree in esports in Colombia. So we want to know that in the future there will be a lot of teachers, a lot of professors, a lot of people involved in the whole industry thanks to this. That's an amazing thing, because in the near future we are going to have a lot of people thinking about esports, thinking about how to grow this in a good way, in a sustainable way. So in jobs, we can talk about 1,000 jobs, but that's the beautiful thing. The limit is now it's not, we don't have a limit. We can create and create and create, and that's the beautiful things about this. As you say, the sky is the limit.
Sky is the limit.
Nice. Did you maybe want to jump in from a coach perspective and kind of the positives, not only for yourself, but what you've seen through working with players?
Sure. So we are used to like spend a lot of time with a lot of professionals around the team. Like more the time goes and more there is people around teams. So obviously there is more and more people watching at esports, so there is more and more expectation of results, so there is more and more people with responsibilities around. And so that's a really interesting place to work in, because you have a good balance between people that have been passionate about esports and then just made it because it was their passion first, and then had the opportunity to work like a full time in this. And there is now also like people that made or tried to do their studies and like their background in esports to come and work in esports. So the interesting thing is you have like a really blank paper to write new like roles, and like if I take my example, like performance coach, it was nothing real like before esports arrived, which is in my opinion something that might in the future evolve again to look like more like what we can find in traditional sports with specialists in every domain. And we don't talk about real performance coaching in traditional sports, obviously, because we have the structuration of, we have like mental coach, we have psychologists, we have dietitians, and then we have everyone with the specialties. For us, like, if I take my particular example, like this role has been made for esports, and so this opportunity, I took it because I wanted to be in video games. I wanted to work with players. But if it didn't exist, I think I would work in traditional sports, obviously, because that was what I was meant to be at the beginning. But that's what I mean. Like, you have people that have expertise and can put it in what they are passionate about, and that's what I like in this area.
Nice. And then something I wanted to elaborate on is, which I think you mentioned, is just the positive social developments that come from esports. You know, it's great team building, working together, and it's just a great way to connect everyone on a global scale. You know, you load into a game and then you're kind of meeting people from all over the world, and it's just a great way of kind of finding new connections. So it'd be great to hear.
Yeah, actually, I shouldn't miss this chance to introduce actually from my real experience with my student. Actually, mainly the student do have two groups. Some others are really enthusiastic for the esports, actually, like a former esports player, athletes, or whatever. But some others do have no idea about the gaming. In my country, to have very interesting, ironic situation. Even like we sometimes do call Korea is one of the country for the esports versus something like that. And anyway, to have very great reputation. But on the other hand, to have interesting bias about the gaming culture itself, like particularly parents do hate playing a game. I mean, do have many interesting aspect, and also the regions to talk about like that. So why we do have, even the government to say like another official catchphrase like gaming is culture, to all the time emphasize it's not really a bad thing, something like that. But on the other hand, in the campus, like university, I can see some other students who their major is like computer science or statistics, literature, or whatever, just like normal subjects, majors they are doing. But once they are inspired to be an expert in the esports area, as a coach or judge or manager or PR, marketing, or whatsoever. Like they wanted to find their own new future job. I mean, like traditionally we used to have the statist or manager or marketing player or whatever, but they wanted to combine, they wanted to expand with their esports experience. They wanted to learn about them. It means like with their passion, which sometimes I cannot really even say I do have the same passion with you like that, because their generation, once they are maybe like young in the kindergarten, they are experiencing with the playing together, and also in the maybe PC bang, but not only in the PC bang, because once they access the internet, they can play within the other side with anyone. The Discord, you know, what the platform sometimes. So anyway, so they do have the different perspectives to understand about the world, I think, with the same generation. So it can be there, like not only for the part of culture, they wanted to break about the bias of the gaming culture with their maybe parents' generation, but also they want to, I think maybe wanted to find about a new way, although the parent generation do not really agree. So that is really interesting side, I think, at the moment, I think.
Nice. Did you want to jump in?
Yes, I want to add something because esports stimulates the growing life skills, or somebody called now power skills. This new generation needs leaders, needs teamwork, there's time management, creativity. So through esports, we can stimulate all these things. Because if we had a boy we need to be a leader in engineering, or we need to be a leader in a financial way. So, okay, we took esports, and okay, in this game you are going to be the leader, you are going to manage the time, you are going to make the decisions, you are going to have the solutions. So this field helped us to stimulate the growing industry and these things that they need for life. So we call life for skills or power skills, because everybody needs this, and we can go through this through esports. So I think it's the powerful tool we have.
Nice. I think, Elaine, this is a perfect time to bring you in. So as you sit on kind of, let's say, the negative side, on the, it would be great, I know you mentioned it a little bit before, but I know you were talking about the definition of addiction. If you could go into that a little bit, that'd be great, just to kind of set the scene. And then obviously, yeah, that'd be great.
In terms of the gaming addiction itself?
Yes, that'd be wonderful.
Well, so there's established signs of gaming addiction, which include anywhere from giving up your social and outside activities for gaming, to be obsessively thinking constantly about gaming, stopping self-care, giving up on school education and work for gaming. I have to comment on what we're talking about in terms of, I think it's brilliant that we can connect on the internet and that we can be globally connected with our friends. But on the side that I'm seeing, that's also very isolating. And so when we look at, in terms of addiction, those who are usually addicted will isolate from those who tell them or will tell them that it's not good for them, so they isolate away. But in gaming, you're never really isolated because you have this built-in online community. And so that's preventing some children from really nurturing their in-person relationships, and they're relying solely on their friendships only online. And that's creating some social issues as well. So on the one side, we have this great social connection, and then on the other side, we're losing in-person social connection, and that's not great.
Nice. And I wanted to talk about some of the potential health issues associated with esports. As a performance coach, can you talk about some of the things that you've seen, or kind of some of the things that you do to kind of counteract that?
Yeah. So we have tried to contabilize all the kind of injuries you can find in esports. So where they are social or psychological or physiological. So obviously you have all the injuries that come from the long seated posture, like spending too much time seated. That's one of those you can find. There is the fact that you are always like doing the same movement during the day. So there is all these injuries like on the tendons based on that. On psychological aspects, we have obviously all the things linked to the depressive symptoms and like burnout syndromes, specifically for sports players. because you lose the balance between work and life, which is the reason why I started to try to do researches in that way, toward that way. So we have this, and obviously this is linked to these social injuries. You can, if we can call that social injuries, which are the fact that by being in this environment and playing only in one way, you didn't socialize like we can find that in traditional sports too, because you were only focused on one activity, what we call the passionate relationship with an activity. You don't have this balance, and you don't socialize the same during your while you're a teenager. You don't socialize the same because you were focused on building skills and be performant in what you try to achieve. So based on that, the irony in that is that it's one of the most powerful skill we can have, being social person, to fight against all these depressive symptoms and isolations, obviously, and burnout at the end. I just went a bit further, but we have a couple of injuries we can find in the sports players.
Nice. And I know you obviously mentioned both the mental and the physical injuries. Elaine, I don't know if you want to jump in and talk about in your experience, what you've seen with regards to both the mental and the physical side from gaming.
Well, in terms of my own son, he was in second year university. He was having difficulty fitting in socially at school. He started to lose confidence in himself in the program that he was studying. And so he fell down the rabbit hole of coping through that stressful time. And he literally was gaming up to 16 hours through the night. He would pass out. He would sleep all day. He would start again. He stopped eating. He stopped grooming. He is 188 centimeters tall. He dropped to 56 kilograms in weight. He had facial tics. He had tremors. He was not speaking to anyone outside of his room. And eventually the university caught up with him and said, you cannot stay in university, you're not attending classes, and you need to reach out to your family. It was pretty horrible to see your own child in such a terrible state of health. In terms of the children that I work with, and when I say children, they can be anywhere from 7 to 33 years old, they are suffering with a great deal of anxiety. A lot of them are depressed. I would say 95% of the clients I work with are on the spectrum or have ADHD, so they're at high risk. They are seeking positive feedback that gaming provides. They are looking for, constant dopamine hit. And then it's difficult for them to find that outside of gaming. What I hear from a lot of the young people that I'm working with is things like, it's the only thing I'm good at. I don't know what else to do. If I don't game, what do I do? And these are kids who thought they were going to be professionals, and now they're 30 years old, and they're not, and they don't know what to do with their lives. So I think we need to create a lot of awareness on how important it is to have balance. I mean, my children, we played together, we played board games, we played card games, my kids were involved in sports, we traveled together as a family. I thought I was doing all the right things, I thought I was providing that balance. The missing link for me was providing the mental health side and paying attention to those kind of cues with my son. And of course, when his mental health suffered, he didn't have the healthy coping mechanisms, and he had this wonderful land of gaming to escape into. And so, yeah, I think we need to be speaking with parents a lot about how we set the perimeters for setting your child up to have a future in gaming. If you're playing traditional athletic sports, you have practice times, you have game times, you might watch it on television, you might watch it on your screen. But outside of that, you're getting rest, you're spending time with friends and family, and we just don't have those perimeters set in terms of gaming. And when children are young, what they know is, if I want to be good, I just have to play a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's just not true.
Can I bounce? I can bounce on this one too. I think I join you on the fact that it could be really interesting to explore how esport can be an associative thing too, because there is this part where we need to talk with family, we need to educate family. We talked about that before together too. And it can come from this associative time, like being in associations to play esports and come in dedicated places to play video games and play esports is one of the interesting way to explore this topic and like explain and teach to the young generation that they do that because they can improve during this time of training, and then they can do other stuff by their own. And when they are alone at home, the people they are meeting in esports are like real life people, so they can meet them in this associative context, and so it helps also that this development. I think that we talked about the fact that during the lockdown during COVID, like there is a lot of students in my university that stop having social interactions, so we build a Discord to talk about esports and to play esports with people. And then when lockdown stopped, we started to have like in real life sessions, which made the people that were isolating themselves during COVID meet new people and see them in real life. So that was kind of this transition that I said to myself at this point, all right, that's where we could be helpful with young generation by having dedicated places like we have for traditional sports. And then you have the rules. You know how it's working. If you want to spend more time playing basketball after your basketball training, that's on you and your parent to deal with that. But you have the rules to work with it. So yeah, wanted to jump on that because it's so interesting.
Right. I see. Yeah, can I add one more thing as well? I don't want to actually deny about the addiction problem actually of gaming. But however, what I want to really emphasize, we have to understand this esports generation and also the gap between the esports, like younger generation, and also parents' generation. At this moment in Korea, young parents, they really wanted to know why my kids do have kind of problems. Like obviously they can see some physical problems and also mental problems, no more talk anymore, something like some totally different from their generation. So even the university, in local council, the government, they try to make some kind of open class to giving gaming literature, like how they do understand about the gaming culture and also how to play gaming well or something like that. And also at the same time, I've been in charge of writing the 3 public high school esports textbook. We do have the esports high school, the first high school, and that time also has a very big social contradiction actually, because most of parents do not really agree to have the esports high school. Even 3 years just playing a game, didn't agree even in Seoul. But eventually we have the first high school, and also when I was in charge of the 3 high school public textbook, public one, and I do really care about the parents, not only for their kid actually, because they know about how to play the game and whatsoever. So I really concerned about how their parents do understand what they are learning and also what they have to learn. So basically, I want to emphasize about the attitude to distinguish about the addiction and also playing as athletes and something like that. So we have to learn, we have to know about with the open mind, even for the parent generation and the kids generation. Otherwise, the esports all the time to have a kind of the loop to, is it passion or addiction, something like that. And also, unfortunately, do not have empirical research, not yet actually, not so many. So one by one, even like me, we have to actually prove what is the addiction and the passion or whatsoever. And there are many, so that is one of the reasons why I actually made the esports convergence graduate school, because I do collaborate with the IT people. For example, one more thing actually, we had the esports campus competition. And that time I suggested, really strongly suggested, let's try to have the empirical research. So in the final round, the League of Legends players, they actually wear the special the equipment. So we measured about their focusing and also their heart beating or whatever. With the scientific data, we wanted to prove when they are focusing on the playing and also when they are just normal playing, something like that. We need some kind of data to prove, to explain, I think. Okay.
Nice. I wanted to kind of delve more into some like tangible measures that can be taken by the industry on kind of what we can do to kind of stop addictions happening in young people? Does it start at the publisher level? Do esports orgs need to do more? Is it, teachers educating students? So it'd be great to hear from each of you what you think, kind of some core measures that can be taken in kind of the sub-industry you're in within the industry. That'd be great.
I think the first measure we can take is educate the family. Because if we teach the parent, the mother, the grandfather, the people who is in charge of the kid, we can solve a lot of problems, because we can teach them how to structure a good sports practice, how to have a good habits, because we are talking about that the players needs this and this and this, but we are not talking about what the family needs, because the players is with the teacher 1-2 hours or with the team 4 hours, but when he come back to the house, he have the same habits that make him bad, something bad, nutrition habits. They don't have a structure of to sleep, to rest. So I think the first measure is to teach the family, to educate, because that is the grassroots of all the gaming stuff. Because if we educate these people, the player will be growing in all the aspects. So I think that will be the first thing we need to help, and we need to focus on, because if we teach the family, everything goes up.
And I think based on that, trying to educate families and educate people that are not directly involved in esports. We talked about role models earlier. I do believe that when you are a kid, when you are a young person, and you have to pick a role model in all the scope of traditional sports athlete or esports athlete or people that are doing great stuff, it's easier for anyone to refer to an esport player rather than a traditional sport player, like our generation were used to do, because obviously, when I was a kid, I was hoping that I will be tall enough to play basketball, in NBA or stuff like that. But obviously, at some point of your life, you don't, you have limitations in terms of physical abilities that can reduce this ability to see yourself as a traditional sport player. So that's a long way to explain that esports players and the way that the culture of health and performance is shown around esports players is a really good way, in my opinion, to provide these educations to the families and to all the people that are not directly involved in esports and don't have already this work in association or have already this work in a team that can provide this help. If they can just see, we start to see now, during competition, if they see their favorite esports players being followed up by a psychologist, or if they see the behind the scene of the practice when they are doing stretchings, where they are doing other activities than just playing all day long, it's, in my opinion, one of the best way to say, all right, if I want to grow up and keep being good at what I'm doing, no matter if I'm a sport player or if I'm working in an office at some point, these are the good habits to be like him, because he's something that I could be actually without being an esports player. So yeah, that's my opinion on that.
Lovely. Elaine, did you want to jump in and talk about some of the measures?
Yeah, I honestly think that parents need to be emotionally available first. I mean, I did all the right things. My children were involved in all kinds of things. They got good grades. Emotionally, I didn't know what to look for. And I think we have to look at children's emotional maturity as well. Is a child emotionally mature to start managing to join a league or start practicing and preparing for that? Because children are all growing emotionally at different stages in their lives. And what I'm finding in terms of the addiction is the children who are playing for hours and hours and hours and giving up on everything else, they're very emotionally immature. And so there needs to be more education on how we can connect to our children from an emotional place and prepare them, as opposed to just, you know, making sure they're doing other activities and making sure that they're eating well and they're exercising, because addiction is just a symptom of something deeper. And so if deeper isn't taken care of first, then it won't matter if, you know, their physical environment is healthy or not.
Nice. So something we've touched on a little bit is kind of balance, finding the balance between, you know, gaming as a hobby versus a career, or, you know, making sure to balance your mental health with kind of you want to game. So is anyone open to talking about how, maybe finding that balance is important and how to do it?
Well, in fact, this environment, actually, this generation do live in a very dynamic and also amazing society. It means like the social media, for example, because nowadays the gaming, they can play wherever, whenever. Yeah, because the media environment is totally changed in the last 20 years and even last 10 years. So even the esports, the gaming, some other genre of games are actually moving to the mobile games rather than from the PC games. It means, again, so we cannot actually put the all responsibility and duties to the players, the athletes, like you have to control the time, you have to focus on, you have to make the balance. It's really difficult environment and a difficult moment, I think. So it means we have to work all together. I have to know about how we can make what is the good balance? Because as earlier said, like if I do compare with the traditional sports, when my kid, for example, if my kid actually to play basketball for 3 hours, we do not say this is the addicted person. But nowadays, even playing 1 hour, 3 hours, we have kind of bias. Stop playing it. When are you going to finish? Something like that. So like we means like even parents and also the players and kids have to know about how we can actually survive, how we can make the balance as a human being to use the good equipment. Actually, good equipment is like a digital device. So how we can actually handle with a digital device, because with it there were during the COVID-19, and this government actually really transformed to the digital textbook and even. So it means like the digital device is one of the tools to learn and educate. It's not really being a part from the only for the gaming itself. So I think it includes me, and also we have to firstly, we have to teach about this media environment, how it's been changing so fast, and then how they can aware about to make the balance, what is the harmful, what is the good way, or something like that. So I think that I want to actually emphasize about that point.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to jump in.
Do you want Mario go? Do you want to
Add something to that? I think one of the things we talked about last night at the dinner was children who are gaming excessively, you know, I'll say, go back to what you were doing before you were gaming. I wasn't doing anything before I gamed. This is the only thing I'm good at. I think we probably have to talk a lot about, and parents especially need to spend time with their children talking about what skills do you bring to the game? Are you a good team player? Are you a good problem solver? Are you a good macro manager? You know, what are the skills that you bring? And then how can you translate those skills outside of gaming into life? Because not everyone's going to make it as a professional, clearly. And so children need to recognize that when they're playing a game, it's not just fun, it's not just a recreational habit, but they're really truly bringing great skills, and they can translate those skills to other parts of their life. And so we need to have more conversations around that as well.
Sorry, Mario. Can I jump on that?
Go for it.
Sorry, I'm taking the light there. But about that, there is more and more now studies that try to link that skills, like the skill we develop by playing not esports, but play video games. And so based on that, trying to identify the skills we're gonna build and we're gonna train by playing video games, so we can add that in the competencies the people will have to apply for a job application or something like that, because they will have through their experience as players develop those skills we are able to identify, because we can just, like that's the example we took yesterday actually. The example was, if you put side to side a manager and a guild leader, like in a game, like you just, like there is some studies that have been made that shown that a guild leader is developing the same skills of managing people, of creating schedules, of leading a team than a team manager that comes from a school and that had this academic academic path. So that's really interesting for us to explore that way, in my opinion, and what we are trying to do in potentially in esports team, but hopefully worldwide in some ways, is to bring these sports studies courses where esports studies courses then when you're not only focusing on playing the game as professional, but also you are developing skills in work fields. And so no matter what happens when you end up your career, you will have a path to follow, and that's something that have been studied a lot in football and in rugby. It's trying to make the people still have something to rely on when it's not going for the best in one way. So you have like we call that the chair. You need 4 feet to still be like like I'm not explaining it well. You need like if you have 4 feet to rely on, if there is 1 foot that fall, then you have still 3 of them to stay standing. And so that's kind of how we're trying to build that process, is to give and provide more solutions and more options no matter what happened to someone, to always have something to rely on at some point.
Yeah, I just want to add that the first thing that we need to know is that fine balance is quite difficult because the balance for everyone is different. For every culture is different. So as a teacher, you need to understand the generation habits, because if I ask about balance, the balance of my grandfather is different than my balance and than my child's balance. So to answer these questions, we need to understand how this new generation is going to be, because every year they have something new and they want to get stimulated all the time with something new. That's why now the people call the TikTok brain or the Instagram brain, because before we can watch a teacher speaking 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and we get focused on those in that time. But right now, if you go to a classroom, if you keep speaking for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the student is lost. He wants another thing. So to find the balance, we need to understand the specific child we are talking to, the specific person we are talking to, and when we know that, we can structure all these things, and you can find that balance that we need. So, for example, here we are 5 people. We have 5 different things to find balance. So I think that will be the biggest challenge for us, because every time we are trying to find, okay, we need to find balance, but which kind of balance? For people in the Balkans, the balance will be different than people in Colombia, from people in North America. So we need to understand this first. We need to structure, and we need to create something for the family to use in their house, to use in every day. And I think maybe when we have that, we can find a balance. So I think it will be the challenge for all of us who are here, and we have to get closer to each other. And okay, we need to find the balance for the newest generation, and in 5 years, we need to find another balance for the next generation. So that's the beautiful thing about being a teacher and to talk about this, because all days we are educating a different challenge every day. So I think we need to do that.
Very well said. So I wanted to open the room up. Has anyone got any questions for any of our lovely panelists? Yes. I think he's got a mic over there.
Someone is going to. Do you want my mic?
I think this way.
I believe if you talk loud enough, we can hear you actually. We're not that far.
You can have this. No, I'll just talk loud enough. Okay.
It's very obvious to me when I like encounter other like people who have it, and as a player, there's so many people like in this like the gaming community that I play in who is like so obvious that they have ADHD, right? And it's just like there's a lot of like tells, how fast they talk, how like ways they like hyper focus on it. And I think the reason is just like video games is really attractive to people with ADHD. It's a lot of like the micromanaging, like there's so many things to do, all like the flashing lights, right? Like it's like video games is like the perfect ADHD dream world. And because of that, I think ADHD people are like just inherently a lot more at risk to addiction problems. And so I think a lot of solving addiction in like video games, a great place to start on that is looking for ways to diagnose and start treating ADHD. I was just curious on all of your thoughts on that, because I think there's a massive trend, like correlation there.
Yeah, it's a great question. As a matter of fact, my son did not get diagnosed with ADHD until after we discovered he was addicted. That would have been helpful to know. He was tested at age 7 and it didn't show up then, so we didn't do further testing. But yes, you're right, they are at the greatest risk because they love to hyper-focus, they like things to be different all the time, they're sensitive to criticism, they love instant reward. And by the way, my son chose 6 years ago to give up gaming because it was destroying his life. And he says today, I snowboard, I play basketball, I play tennis, I rock climb, I have great friends, he's a software engineer, he's got a high energy job, and he still says that nothing he does today matches the dopamine hit that gaming gave him. That's what we're fighting against. And I have kids that I work with who are, I have someone I'm working with right now who's spending, between $200 and $800 a week on buying skins. And, we talked about how he's going to have to reduce that or eliminate that spending. And he immediately said, how will I get my dopamine hits? Because he's ADHD. Exercise, except as we talked about last night, that takes effort. Gaming's a whole lot easier, so it appears to be a lot easier. So yes, usually with my families I work with, that's the first thing I ask is, if their child hasn't had a neuropsych assessment, to get it done, to talk about using medications. I suggest a lot of times that my kids work with executive functioning or ADHD coaches as well to help them manage their lives, because you're right, they're very much attracted to gaming for all those reasons.
Thank you. I think we've got time for one more question. Down here at the front.
So I have a different twist to the conversation. By the way, thank you, panelists. I think it was very engaging and provocative. And I'll share some thoughts based upon my upbringing. I had a friend of mine who played basketball, I'd say 7 to 10 hours a day. I have another friend of mine who played chess for more hours than I can count in a day. How much of this is being inappropriately directed to a particular genre, whatever it may be, and how much of it is a societal or even a technological issue rather than a esports issue?
No, actually, from the traditional sport background, we did study that for a long time in traditional sport. The fact that you have this passionate relationship with the activity you're doing. I think the one example that came to my mind during came to my mind during the talk was there is a lot of parents that have that had a relationship with the childs about swimmers, kind of like the swimmers that are spending a lot of time practicing on a daily basis, and or cycling also. That works in my head now. Parents are pushing their kids to keep practicing and keep doing it, and day by day keep doing it because it's a physical activity, obviously. So I feel that works for everything. Now we have more and more studies that are directed to this topic, like the fact that we need to give a balance and to find a balance if we want to have like adults that are able to keep living in the society after they did their sports career or their esports career. And so based on that, Yeah, I think I'm just saying it again, but like one of my point of view where we can help with that is trying to implement sports studies, whereas like it can be in university or it can be in college or it can be like as soon as possible, because we have to educate parents and family at the same time, as it's been well said during this session. So I've been in sport myself, so I've been in university with like sports academy. And so I could say, like I have still friends that didn't make to professional level, that had to start again studies at the end of their of their sport career, like semi-professional career, because when I did finish my studies, they were still playing and didn't really dig deeper in studies. And so that's where Rugby Federation, Football Federation in France and in Europe, if I'm not wrong, are studying these topics and trying to address how we can better support as soon as possible in the kids' development, a better balance between work and like our studies and sports at the same time. I hope it's answering the question. And someone want to jump in?
Okay, so we actually have more time left than I thought.
Sorry,
so we've
guys.
got more time for questions. So anyone else? Down here.
I want to add something for that question. I will use a phrase that don't hate the game, hate the player. It's not all about esports, it's not all about the video game, it's how we use it. It's not the technology fault, it's how we use that to get advantage, to get good with. So we need to understand what are we using, why we are using that, and how. So when we define these specific things, we will properly use this, and we are not talking about this. It's full of esports. It's full of video games. No, it's how we use that to make things good. So I think that's the homework we have to do. So I have this tool. How I'm going to use it? It is good for me. It is good for my kid. It is good for my community. So we have to understand first this, and later we do the homework as okay. I will use this specific structure of time. I will share this with another tool. So I think that's what we have to do, to understand and how we are going to use it, because it's not the game fault, it's our fault.
I just very shortly, can I add one more thing as well? I also have the same experience. Some other my students do play the FIFA online really well, actually, but also because of their playing the experience, they want to play the real football, actually. So join to the football club and also want to know about then something like, and the other group actually, they are only playing FIFA online, not real football actually. So maybe sometimes it depends on their personality and also personal interest, and sometimes. So at this moment, what I'm actually trying to have one of my research is, I wanted to know about there is a kind of correlation and also some user gratification, something like that, because one group actually do have experience about football, and the other group would never ever had about. And is there any kind of inspiring and also a relationship between them, something like that? Because of course League of Legends or other kind of games like esports games are also popular, but now there's another aspects to know about some other different genre of games like FIFA Online or also online basketball, and extra like a traditional game. Sports are becoming gaming as well, and also getting really popular. So then how we can say about that one, they do enjoy that one. So something like this is a really interesting moment to see that one.
Yeah, a funny thing about that is in FPS games, I can remember of something, working with the professional players. We were in a boot camp and we were on Rainbow Six game. We went to laser tag, and like a funny thing is, there were not sports players in their background, but still they did play Rainbow Six for a lot of time, so FPS players since a lot of time, and they smashed us on laser tag because they had this ability to understand the space and understand the place they are in, to place themselves in the right position to shoot you in the back when you don't expect them to be there. So it was a bad experience for me, but it was like a good experience, a good learning experience in that way that you develop skills in esports, even though you are on looking at a screen, you're understanding stuff that will be useful for later.
Nice. Next question. This gentleman at the front. Oh, if you already have the mic.
Yeah, so hello everyone. First of all, to build up on this question do you feel, maybe for Mario, mostly, but all of you can chime in. So do you feel that the esport maybe just lacks the structure? What I mean by that is, if I'm a 10-year-old kid in Colombia and I'm passionate about soccer or football, and I'm watching James Rodriguez and I want to be like him, I can join the local club. I know the path that can bring me there. And in 5 years, if I'm a 10-year-old kid and I join the club, I will know, can I be James Rodriguez or not, right? Because the structure is there, the coaches are there, the sport is there, they've done it before, and then I can say, okay, I'm going to be a professional in football after 5 years at 15, or I'm not able to do that, so let me go back to school or whatever it is. And if I'm a kid that is passionate about League of Legends and watching Faker, what should I do? Except play for 15 hours a day and hope somebody notices me somewhere. And there is no feedback loop that you can go into to know, am I going to be a professional or not?
Yeah, well, we need to build that, because now there is assignment. There is no, for example, in Colombia, every weekend you take your kid to the football school, to the basketball school, but we need to build the League of Legends school, the Valorant school, and these new generations go in that way. So we need to structure in the proper way how are you going to teach League of Legends, for example. League of Legends has a specific behaviors in technique, in tactic, in emotional behaviors, and in the physique. Because if I play something in Xbox, in PC, or in mobile, do I need in the physical specific thing something strong than the other? So we need to construct that. We need to construct every field in technique, in FPS, in Battle Royale, in fighting games, in reading games, in sports simulator games. We need to control what do the player need in technique, and do the same in the tactic way, in the emotional way, and in the physical way. So right now, if a player wants to be professional in Colombia, we need to construct that. That's why we are here, to show that we need to get that in the schools, because now in the schools they play Mobile Legends, but they don't play football. But the teachers don't know how to teach that kid. Okay, you play a lot of time in Mobile Legends, but okay, I don't understand this game. How am I going to teach it? So that's the first challenge is how to understand the game, and then how to teach it, and after that, how to involve into a whole structure in the Ministry of Sports, for example. And we have a scholarship sport, university sport, amateur sport, and then professional sport. So we need to construct all that way, and we can teach this 10 years old boy in the school, and then we know how to take it to the university, and then we have to take it to the amateur sport, and then professional. But the homework is to build that, and we are doing it. But as a growing region, we are work so hard in that, but we need more people asking you that, but in my country, but we are doing it, of course.
Nice. I'm going to save the best question till last.
Thank you for the insightful conversation, and you kind of answered half of what I wanted to ask. And we hear a lot about gaming and esports and mixing both. And my personal opinion is esports is not gaming, gaming is not esports. And we blame gaming while we talk about esports, and the conversation here is about esports, and it's not gaming. I come from both worlds, from the traditional sports, motorsports, and esports. So I've lived both the passion to develop and reach to a professional level in both occasions, and managed to get both titles in both occasions. So what I wanted to understand and reach out, having your thoughts in it, gaming can be anything. It's a tool, as you said earlier. And we can play games for hours, but that's not esports. Going into esports is a whole different level of dedication and training and spending 6 hours, actually you might hate the game because you're spending certain skills to develop to reach a certain level. So esports is not gaming in my opinion, so I wanted to understand from your thoughts, what do you think about it?
Well, the first thing we need to know is that, as you said, video game is not a sport. Esports are different. But the other thing is that when you say esports, everybody thinks that it's the same. We need to understand that esports are really different kind of esports. So we have the MOBAs with the FPS, shooting games, the battle royale, fighting games, reading games. Now we have these new games with the virtual reality games. So we have to take one of those and explain each other as a traditional sports. But we need to understand that. We need to understand that every kind of esports is different from each other, and it has a different way to learn. So we need to do that. I hope in the next World Cups we have the specific competitions for, okay, this is the week of MOBAs. Next week is only for FPS. Next week only for battle royales. Next week only for sports simulator. And we have to structure all that, because a lot of people is still thinking that, okay, esports, okay, only play FIFA, for example. Only play Fortnite, but not. FIFA and Fortnite are quite different, very different from each other. So we need to understand that, and we together have to create the structure and to tell the people that esports is not only a game, it's a bunch of kind of esports. So I think that will be the first homework we need to do.
On the other side, if I can jump on that, in my opinion, esports is the controlled version of gaming in some ways. So as soon as we start to, like, we talk a lot about esports, obviously we are here at the esports summits, but the fact is we can control esports because we structured it. So we are trying to get control on what we're gonna do, because we're gonna bring people together under those rules that we can ask them to follow, and like the game producers and the federations can ask the team to follow too. And so that's where we're trying to, by being in the esports field, we're trying to influence gaming in the way that people could enjoy better playing games if they understood how to balance it the best, which is like what we're trying to do with esports, the way we're trying to make sustainable players and sustainable environment. And so this is where, in my opinion, the gaming stops. Like, you can take the example of street football and indoor football. Like street football, you start playing in the street without any real rules, or it's like your city rules or your place rules, you know, and then you put rules about it. So you come to train and you follow the rules, and then you have a control on those people, and that's where we can influence them in the right way, toward the right way, or what I hope to be the right way, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's where we do the distinction, in my opinion.
Can I add one more thing as well? I think I absolutely agree with your opinion, but I also wanted to add, before we talk about the difference between the gaming and esports, we have to say about the genre of games. Because I do all the time say that all games can be esports, because some other games are just born to addict. Just never finish, just keep playing. They are just designed like that. So, because when we talk about the esports, the game genre of games, normally to have fairness really important, because it's a sportsmanship, and also to have the judge and training and coach or something like that. So some few, maybe, but even between the other games, some genre of games are really interesting. Sometimes they can be a sports genre of games, so sometimes they are just very addictive games. But nowadays, although even from the PC and also mobile and also even the console or whatever extra, there's a kind of the barriers are a little bit unclear. However, still, when we are talking about the esports, we have to agree about the quite different or specific, precisely some types of genre of games are being a esports. Then precisely have to know about what types of games can be esports and how we can teach of them, how we can develop them, because some others, even if we just say about general game players, it's also different topic and different story actually, because they are just playing. They are not really all the time wanting to compete. They just want to win sometimes all the time. It means like a different purpose of the playing and also enjoying and something like that. But as you said, actually, when we are saying esports, it have to be different area, different topic and aspect. And particularly non-players aspects, they are all the time wanted to shake, like because they do not recognize that once they are actually training League of Legends, for example, how we can recognize that this is a training or playing a game, just to say like just to playing a game all the time. So that is also one of the actually we normally say about kind of bias. Thank you.
Nice. I think we've just about run out of time. So if you want to give the panelists a massive round of applause, and thank you everyone for their questions.